Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest chess matches in history has just concluded, and I am going to share it with you. It's Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura in the Bullet Chess Championship. 1 minute chess. The players play as many games as they can over the course of 45 minutes, and there's just one rule. It's win by 2. This match was unreal, and I'm gonna summarize it for you by showing you 20 games that they played back and forth. This is gonna be non-stop action, and before we jump into the games, I wanna thank the sponsor of today's video, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, or a virtual private network, which allows you to encrypt your connection to the internet so you can browse it privately and anonymously. And you may wanna do this for several reasons. First, everybody's favorite. Let's say you take a break from your routine of studying chess 8 hours a day, and you wanna watch a show online, but your favorite show is no longer available on your streaming service. If you connect to a different country using Surfshark, it might actually reappear in that catalog. Second, a VPN can help you log into a sensitive portal, like a bank or a credit card. And lastly, I just got back from vacation. I went to Sicily, I went to Rome, and I went to Paris. The goal here is not to make you jealous. Rather, it is to tell you that I took 5 flights during my trip, and Surfshark can help with flights. Did you know that if you change your location with Surfshark while browsing for airline tickets, you might actually get them for cheaper? Yeah, that's because of something called geo-pricing. Try it the next time you want to book a trip. You might save some money. And Surfshark is great. It's available on unlimited devices, so you could use it on your desktop, your laptop, your phone, and you can even give it to your grandparents. Folks, you know the drill. Click the link in the description to get started with Surfshark today. You'll get 83% off and 3 free months. And if for whatever reason you are unhappy with Surfshark, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. No questions asked. Now let's get back to the video. The timer starts and Hikaru begins the match with e4. Magnus responds with the Scandinavian defense. The first game, both sides castle, life is good. Now, you gotta ease into a match like this. There are 45 minutes on the clock. So the first game is Hikaru putting a little bit of pressure with his bishops, Magnus advancing on the king side, looking to create some attacking chances, but very quickly, he actually loses a pawn. And he's a clean pawn down with Hikaru effortlessly expanding his army, and this game is actually over very quickly, as before anything serious can happen, Magnus resigns. He resigns the first match in like 30 seconds, and Hikaru jumps out to a 1-0 lead. So what does Magnus do in the next game? Hikaru plays the system that he plays all the time. I mean, this is a sensei who knows a thing or two and plays the same way for the 10,000th time. I'm only afraid of the man that's practiced one kick 10,000 times. So Hikaru's playing as modern. Magnus is playing in a way where he's going to put some question marks onto the queen side. Hikaru mobilizing, and now we have a queenless middle game. Magnus wins a pawn, and he's asking Hikaru, what are your pieces doing over there? He's got the bishops. He takes, tactics flying all over the place. It's a complicated position, but Magnus has a very strong 10-second lead. Hikaru gets the bishop to c5, massive tactical complications, and we go to an endgame. Magnus is up in exchange. He transforms the position where he's got a bishop and 2 pawns for a rook, and it's just a matter of a scramble now. 30 seconds versus 19. Time ticking. Pawns flying up the board. Look at Magnus approaching. Is Hikaru getting mated? Is the pawn sneaking through? It is. And Magnus strikes back in emphatic fashion. It's a rook endgame. It's bullet. It's chaos. 5 seconds. 4 seconds. Time is ticking. Hikaru in the time scramble, losing the rook, but it was already very difficult a move ago. It wasn't difficult there. But as time scrambles go, Magnus strikes back immediately. But Hikaru opens up quickly. He plays a Vienna. He doesn't play queen g4, by the way. It would have been really nice if Hikaru could play queen g4, but we just have a regular opening. No bishops. Hikaru advancing. It's an even match. They threaten us with a repetition of moves, but we're not getting one. Hikaru once again threatening us with a repetition. Now we just have a bishopless game. These guys hate bishops. Hikaru grabs a pawn. We go to another endgame, queen e5, and Hikaru's just 2 clean pawns up. Healthy, clean pawns up. Hikaru has made 35 moves in 18 seconds. How is that even possible? He's not pre-moving. Every move is just happening so fast. And I got news for you. He just very effortlessly marches Magnus down and obliterates him in the 3rd decisive game of the match. Hikaru is now up a game. And I got bad news for you, my friends. If you are cheering for Magnus, Hikaru was rock solid early. He just won that game with the white pieces. Now he has to hold serve with black. It's exactly like tennis. It's exactly like in tennis. The person with white is the one serving. If you break in tennis, life is going to be good. Take stock of this position. Take stock of this position. Hikaru up 2 pawns. Magnus takes and is trying to draw the rook endgame. But let me tell you something right now. It is not easy. Look at Hikaru galloping across the board with his king like a gazelle in a field. F5. The pawn's a passer. And my friends, it takes 53 moves. But Hikaru gets the job done and takes an early 2-game lead. Now, obviously, not a big deal yet. Don't have to stress just yet. Right? Next time Magnus got the white pieces, he didn't just play every game with white. They had some draws. Magnus still trailing by 2. Hikaru keeps going back to the modern. This time Magnus just going straight at him. All right? Massive advancement in the center. Knight to d5. Bishop takes. Tactics all over the board, but Hikaru once again escaping from the opening with a fantastic position. c4. Now Hikaru's the one calling the shots, but a very messy position, and if Magnus can get the pawns rolling, the entire safety of the king is now threatened. f6, knight f7, knight d8. Magnus has won in exchange. Takes. Rook d5, but Hikaru the world's best defender. Easily the world's best defender. Rook e5, queen d5 though. He's trying to create counterplay, but it's just not fast enough. Queen f7, e7, and that is going to do it. Magnus promoting to a second queen, and Magnus is within 1 again. Now, Hikaru, next game. With white, Magnus playing a French defense. We have a really weird queenless middle game. Remember, Hikaru up by 1. Listen to me, all right? Let it fuel you. We have a knight, bishop, and rook middle game. Very symmetrical structure overall. Whoever can win a game like this and a match like this is going to win the match. The players were firing off moves. Hikaru targeted the f-pawn. Hikaru's also got a passed h-pawn. Magnus, meanwhile, trying to trade as many pieces off and stabilize the position. Very, very messy and tangled tactical situation. Rook e3, takes, rook f6, and Hikaru makes it into a winning rook and bishop endgame. And my God, how quickly he won. h5, king d4, bishop f5, rook h7, and it was just a matter of time until bishop e4 came. Magnus was pre-moving because he was down half of Hikaru's time, and Hikaru takes a 2-game lead. And it got even worse because in the very next game, Hikaru took a 3-game lead. So Hikaru is up 3 games versus Magnus. 3 points. He's got a 3-game lead, okay? At this point of the video, how many minutes are we in? Like 8? It's a 3-game lead. This is really bad. Magnus is now tilting, okay? We have e4, knight f6. Magnus going for an Aljokin's defense, but we just go back to a 4 knights. d4, take, scotch. Bishop b6, all right, bishop g5. Remember, Hikaru's up 3 games, and I got really bad news for you. Magnus is about to land himself into another very, very dangerous position. So it's a 3-game lead for Hikaru and a winning position on the board after the opening. Knight f6, bishop h4, and Hikaru just puts his queen out there. How is Magnus going to defend his king? He's got a ruined structure. Here comes rook e1. He tries to fight back, but we have this, c5. Magnus's bishop is trapped. This is unbelievable. Hikaru is going to take a 4-game lead. How is that possible? Okay, rook d8. Bishop takes g6. Why? Because after this, Hikaru takes. Magnus goes here. Desperado to sack the bishop. Rook d1. Hikaru's up a bishop. Hikaru traded and played c4, c5. Purely trapped Magnus's bishop. Magnus tried to go for counterplay. In a tactical skirmish, Hikaru has a 4-game lead. He is up 4 games against Magnus in the Bullet Championship. Time is ticking. Well, Magnus is going to strike back. Magnus doesn't just sit there and get steamrolled. 4-game deficits. He eats that for breakfast, or lunch, or dinner, or 5 o'clock tea. I don't know what they do in Norway. Hikaru back to the true and tried. You cannot stop this man from playing a modern Beard's defense. This man knows this opening better than Stockfish. Not true. That's gas. e5, take, c3, queen e7. All right, bishop g5, take. Magnus, knight d2, looking for the light squares, queen to b5. But here comes Hikaru, kicking out the queen. All right, Hikaru rotating the knight back around, knight d6. All right, the queen's looking a little bit dicey over there. Queen e6. Magnus is like, no problem. Let's trade. Okay, rook to c1. Knight g4. It's an equal endgame. It's rook and knight. But knight, uh-oh. How are you going to defend yourself? Active knight. Here comes c5. Hikaru's instigating. With b5. King d3, pawn takes. Oh, that is a nasty looking pin. How do you deal with that? Rook d8 check. Knight into d4. This is a terrifying position. Knight c2. g5. Oh, no. Magnus had to play king to d3, but he goes here. He's booted, and Hikaru is up a knight. He's up a knight, and he's up 8 seconds. Could this be possible? Knight e3 back. Magnus Rook d6. Oh my goodness. Hikaru's going to win again. Rook h8, rook h3, rook f3, rook a3. And he's going to push his g-pawn. And Magnus Carlsen resigns. Magnus Carlsen is now officially down 5 games to Hikaru. Hikaru is decimating the best player in the world. Well, that's kind of fitting because he's number 2, all right? This is unreal. There is no coming back from this. No amount of games that Magnus is going to win is going to be good enough because Hikaru is going to be right there. Can Hikaru bury Magnus and completely erase any doubt and any debate that he is by far the best bullet player in the world? We're about to find out. The players made a couple of draws, and in the very next game, we're about to find out if Magnus is going to begin his comeback or dig himself a deeper hole. e4 from Hikaru. Magnus starts firing away early with h5. h4, Hikaru's knight gets booted. h3 and e5. Confident central play, takes on e3 so that he can put a bishop on g4. Hikaru getting himself into a bit of an uncomfortable situation here. Magnus just needs a moment. Opposite side castling. Is he going to start an attack? f5, e takes f5. But Magnus was not going to take the pawn back. And in an equal position, Hikaru had to play queen f3 or bishop e3. He plays pawn takes f5, and Magnus says, psych! That's the wrong number. Queen to g2 is an unstoppable mate, and against all odds, Magnus is now only down 4 games. This is unbelievable stuff. Could he possibly? No, surely not. He's gonna get within 3. He's gonna get within 2, but then Hikaru's gonna flip it all around. He's up 5 games. Damn it, there's no way, right? Well, good thing we've got a couple of more games today. Hikaru going back to the true and tried. Magnus looking to build a little bit of momentum. He's been dormant the first 30 minutes of this match. Remember, 45 minutes of 1-0 chess, you have to win by 2. Magnus is down 4 games. Rook e1 castles, h3. All right, Hikaru playing the usual. Bishop on b7. All right, what's Magnus gonna do? He closes up the center, taking up some space, trying to restrict Hikaru. Hikaru plays c6, queen c7, king h7. Rock solid. Come and get me. I'm up 4 games, bozo. Who said you were the best in the world? Rook c1, c5. It's a deadlocked position. All Magnus has is this. He's got this area of the board. A and B, maybe something over here. Bishop c2, knight b6, knight d7. Here comes Magnus. Rook a4, h5, poking holes, asking questions. Hikaru now looking to create a little bit of counterplay. Knight takes a4. Magnus knocking on the door, and in this position, Magnus finds knight takes g6! The defense of the Black King, an absolute illusion, as nobody can account for can account for this, and queen h5. So that is why Hikaru had to play knight f6. Knight h4, Magnus escapes, robs the bunkers, knight to f5, queen f3, and it's a juggernaut. Bishop h6, bishop h6. Hikaru has to defend his knight, the bishop comes back. The queen is coming, the knight is coming, queen g3. At some point, all of Magnus's other pieces are going to come in. Can Hikaru make any sort of comeback? No, he loses the rook, but Magnus is trailing on the clock. No, he's not. g4, rook c1, time scramble, rook d6, rook c6, take all the pawns, and there we go. The pawn sneaks in. Magnus slowing down here, only down to 6 seconds on the clock. Can Hikaru flank him? The answer, no. King f6, and Hikaru resigns, and Magnus is now within 3 games. And at this moment in the match, one of the most insane streaks occurred. They proceeded to draw the next 4 games. Deadlocked. Hikaru maintains a 3-game lead. There are now about 10 minutes remaining. They've got at most time for 5 games, maybe 6, and it's win by 2. If they don't win by 2, they play overtime. At this point, they drew a bunch of games. Now, this endgame, oh, this was unbelievable stuff. All right, this was Magnus is either going to get within 2 or Hikaru is going to take the dirt out of the cemetery and bury the coffin. This is the critical game. e4. It's a Vienna, knight a5, takes the bishop, Hikaru develops, knight to g3. It's a pure Vienna, Magnus shreds open the center of the board. This is the closest it's been in 25 minutes. Magnus is within 3 games. Can he make it 2? Queen b7, Hikaru up a pawn, but he's going to lose that one. And he's going to lose that one. Takes, this is the position. Magnus is completely winning, but Hikaru is creating counterplay on the light squares. Knight f6, queen f3. Can Magnus find it within himself? d2, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, here comes Magnus. The pawn is being defended. Magnus looking for counterplay. Rook b3, rook d2, pieces flying off the board. It's a rook endgame. Here it comes. Magnus is building the advantage. The best endgame player literally in human history pushes the white king off to the edge of the board with rook to a2 check, and he's winning. He has worked his magic. He is even up on time. Hikaru dead lost. e2. Wait a minute, that was the wrong approach. You had to play rook f2. You had to maintain that this king cannot come back, because if you play rook f2 and then e2, you bring your king and then you win. But he plays this, and Hikaru escapes. King g2, king f2, and against all odds, Hikaru was facing only a 2-game lead. The Magnus comeback was upon him. There is no way out, and now the game ends in a king and pawn endgame draw. The defensive savant that is Hikaru stands up against Magnus in the endgame and maintains a 3-game lead. You cannot script this stuff. This is sensational stuff. Are you enjoying this recap? You better enjoy this recap. Take a moment right now, write a comment about how much you're enjoying this recap. I'm gonna take a sip of my espresso, as if I need any more. Oh my goodness, my friends, it is a 3-game lead. Magnus Carlsen has to win at least 2 games. He has to get within 1. He doesn't have to tie the match. He just has to not lose by 2. That is the rule. Here we go. e4. Can he do it? Yet again, we see Hikaru playing this type of fusion, modern, Pierce opening. We've seen a lot of these different transformations. We are not going to do a deep analysis. It's an endgame. The best endgame player in the world. By extension, the best middle to endgame player in the world. Rooks are off. Knight c4. Knight a5 going for a journey. Knight takes b7. Oh my goodness. Knight a5, and I think Hikaru just completely did not anticipate this or decides to gambit the pawn to try to create counterplay. But my friends, all I have to say here is the following. Rook a6. What pawn is the most important pawn that white has? Which of Magnus Carlsen's pawns is his greatest asset? Is it A, C, E, F, G, or H? There's only one answer. The A pawn. It's an outside pass pawn, which is a $1 billion unicorn startup when it comes to the endgame. And watch and learn. A4, A5, A6. This is not rocket science. This is the equivalent of Uno. The king, the rook slide out of the way. He doesn't care that he's going to lose the bishop because A8 queen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is officially the closest the match has been in about 15 games. Magnus Carlsen is within 2, but that is still a long way to go. And my man Hikaru, my man, when all hope was lost, decided to slow the whole thing down, play for a Sicilian, slightly imbalanced opening, and says, you know what? I was up 5. I was up 4. I was up 3. I was up 2. My time is ticking. Time is ticking down to 0. Magnus is going to rightfully reclaim his throne. Look at this fantastic position that Magnus has built. But Hikaru, resilient for a reason, snags a pawn. Gives up this, rook to d7, queen to e4. Oh, God. Oh, my goodness. Magnus Carlsen on the verge of making it a 1-game lead, but slightly. Knight to e3 apparently was winning, but he plays this. Queen e2, takes. Hikaru kicks out his queen, queen to g5, and then he just grabs the pawn. Magnus plays rook c1. His advantage is gone. His advantage is gone. Knight to e3, queen d2, knight g4. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. It is Hikaru, knight c6, winning the pawn on the queen side. Pass pawn. We just saw Magnus win with a pass pawn. Now Hikaru is going to win with a pass pawn. This is unbelievable stuff. King f8, a4. Hikaru cruising to a 3-game lead when he plays this move, blunders a fork, and the game is now back to a draw. But not for long, because in this position, Magnus plays f6 check. He had anticipated that after knight here, Hikaru would go here, not forward. And he pre-moves this, loses his pawn, and resigns as Hikaru's got the A-pawn, the infiltration, and Hikaru, my friends, is now up 3 games with 7 minutes remaining. 7 minutes. You do the math. Both sides have 1 minute to start a bullet game. That's 2 minutes. There are 7 minutes remaining on the clock. Every single game now counts. If Magnus Carlsen loses this game, the video is over. The Bullet Chess Championship is over, and Hikaru is the champion. E4. But if Magnus wins this game, Hikaru only has a 2-game lead. Now, we have bishop to d3. Yet again, we have this e5. We have very similar position that we've had, and here comes a queenless middle game. Bishop to e6. Here comes h5 by Hikaru, maintaining a little bit of central space on this side. Knight to d7. Knight g5. Magnus has the 2 bishops. And guess what? Guess what? Magnus is like an Italian sculptor. All he needs is a little bit, and then the genius will unfold. Bishop to c4, rook to e7, rook d1, a4, a5, slight, steady improvement of the position. Bishop f2. Hikaru tries to lock it all down with h4. It's just a matter of time. Here comes pawn to b4. Take, bishop d4. But Hikaru is a genius in his own right, and he builds up an impenetrable fortress. At this point, Magnus could have played bishop takes h4. He missed it. He played rook to c2, rook c1, and my friends, with 7 minutes remaining on the game clock, we got to the following position. Opposite colored bishops, 20 seconds for Magnus, 25 seconds for Hikaru. What you do in a game like this is you bleed the clock. This is a dead draw. This is a dead draw, but with a timer remaining, you gotta play it on. Hikaru now takes the pawn and keeps the game going. Hikaru cannot that easily win this game. He cannot just play king c3, because after king e5 there is this. I'm gonna take the pawns and I'm going to advance and I'm gonna sacrifice the bishop. So the players shuffle. Tensions are at a sky-high level. Look at the position. 14 seconds to 16 seconds. They shuffle a little bit more, and Hikaru makes a run for it. 9 seconds versus 9.7. King e5, king g2, king f4, king h3, pawn push, check, king f5, king h2. Oh my goodness, white is winning, f4. Oh my goodness, Magnus is winning, h3. But Magnus accidentally blunders into a drawn endgame, but he's still up 2.5 seconds on the clock. King g4, f5, it's a draw. It's a draw, and Hikaru loses the pawn. Magnus is winning once again. Magnus is winning once again. King to f7, it's a draw again. He blundered the pawn, but he sneaks them through, and 89 moves later, Magnus Carlsen wins. He wins. He wins. He's only down 2 games. This is unreal. Now, there are 4 minutes remaining. It's a 2-game match. If Hikaru wins this game, it's over. There is no way that mathematically Magnus can make a comeback. d5, takes. Oh my goodness. h5, bishop c4, knight f1. We have g3. We have knight to e3, d3, and Hikaru gets himself into a load of trouble. All right? A load of trouble here. He gets completely barricaded on the light squares. Look at this. This is nuts. The momentum is officially just skyrocketing in Magnus's favor. The light squared bind. Hikaru goes for a defensive queen sacrifice to relinquish the pressure in the position, but Magnus now starts firing away on the other side of the board. And even though Hikaru has created a good blockade, rook e8. And once Magnus removes one rook from the board, the other rook that Hikaru has loses a ton of its value. g5, queen f7, queen f3, queen g2, and for the second time in this match, Hikaru's king is mated on the light squares by force. The dark squared bishop just an onlooker of the light squared barricade. Magnus is within 1. Oh my god. Oh my god, Magnus Carlsen is within 1 game. e4. We have yet another Sicilian defense. This is nuts. Magnus has not been within 1 in something like 20 games. If Hikaru wins this game, the match is over. Bishop to c4. Knight e5. Take. Queen c7. Here comes Hikaru. Look at this fantastic position. Oh my goodness, look at this position that he's gotten. What a sensational position. Pass pawn on the d-file. Opposite side castling. Rook sneaks into d3, but Hikaru asking so many nasty questions. It's a heavy piece endgame. Rooks and queens. Queen to d7. Queen c7. If Hikaru wins this game, he wins the match. Queen c5, queen c3. Here comes Hikaru rotating his queen around rook d3, building up the pressure. But oh, Magnus lost the pawn. But he's going here, rook b1. But Magnus's king now opens up. Magnus's king is opening up. Queen to e3. The game is on a knife's edge. I mean, I have absolutely no idea what's going on. Queen c5. Now it's a winning endgame. Hikaru pushes the pawn, but suddenly Magnus stops it. Rook endgame. Rook d6. Rook d6. Oh my goodness. Magnus is winning, but he's down 6 seconds. It's a rook endgame. But if Magnus loses this game on the... Oh no. Hikaru, rook e6. Oh. 9 seconds, 14 seconds, rook b4, rook takes b4! Rook takes b4! And Hikaru loses, and the match is tied. And not only does Magnus Carlsen win and the match is tied, they start the final game of regulation with 2 seconds on the clock. This game counts, but there are 2 seconds on the clock. And this was one of the most deranged, insane, high-pressure games I've ever seen in my life. The match is tied. Magnus has overcome all odds to come back from being 5 points down. That is what you call goat shite, okay? King h7, this is the position. Magnus roaring forward here, bishop versus knight. It's an endgame. It's hanging on a knife's edge. Queen to c4. He's sneaking around. Here comes pawn to c3. Oh my goodness. Queen a8 check, queen e4 check, and knight f6. Magnus Carlsen is going to take his first lead in the match, but he misses it. Rook b2, and suddenly Hikaru is creating opportunities. The players shuffle moves back and forth. Magnus trades, rook to d8, king here. It's looking like it's supposed to be game over, but the king is escaping. The king is escaping. And Magnus, who just a moment ago had queen a8 here, knight f6, and was just a moment away from winning this game. Rook d1, queen a8, queen e8, queen f7, just completely picking up all the pawns, has to settle for a repetition of moves, and we go to overtime. Oh my God. It's 14-14 as Magnus Carlsen has come back from down 5. My friends, this is how overtime works. The players have 6 games. If at any point one of them takes a 2-game lead, they win. Magnus has not led in this match, but he has also trailed by 5, and now he is in a tied situation. Hikaru locks the center. The center is now completely locked, and here comes Hikaru attacking Magnus. Knight back to g3, the king slides out of the way, rook to g1, and pawn to h4. This is one of the most monstrous attacks that's building that I've ever seen, and Magnus meets him right there. Fg, hg, attacks, blocks, infiltrates, counterplay, queen slides up, knight rotates, bishop c1 covering the f4 square. Bishop infiltrates on the dark squares, takes. Magnus is overtaking Hikaru. It is a tied match. Rook b1, locks the door, c3, trades the bishops, the knight lives on the f4 square. Magnus Carlsen, positional masterclass. All of Hikaru's pieces are now restricted. Magnus plays rook to b8 and dominates on that file. Rook to b1. The advantage is skyrocketing for Magnus Carlsen. Knight takes d3 is game over. If takes, queen a2 check is a haymaker from the gods. If you play queen takes d3, you simply lose the rook. Magnus Carlsen is winning. Magnus Carlsen is winning for the first time in this match, but he plays rook to b2, which is still a very decent move, but now Hikaru plays the ugly, stubborn rook c1. Magnus is still winning, plays queen takes a2. Hikaru rotates up, bishop a4, rook a1, bishop c2. The game is over. Queen h1 from Hikaru. Bishop takes d3. Wait, what about the queen? Why did Magnus not save the queen? He didn't save the queen because after this, he just assumed he's winning. The pawn is promoting. Hikaru had one of the worst positions that he had had in an hour. And he flipped it all around by sacrificing his knight and stopping Magnus's pawn. The otherworldly defensive abilities to be stretched this thin with a king that has no legal moves, to sacrifice your knight, rotate the queen this way, and the unmitigated gall to not even save this game, my friends, Hikaru wins this game. He wins. Queen e5, Magnus Carlsen was completely, utterly winning. He could not have been more winning. Look at the position. It was, the pieces were on opposite sides of the board and he was down multiple pawns. Hikaru wins this game. You can't make this stuff up. Magnus is going to tilt off the face of the planet. Yet again, we have e5. Hikaru going for the same type of setup. I am going to be sick to my stomach. I don't know how Magnus is not sick to his stomach from that game. That was otherworldly. I mean, how did Hikaru not lose that game? How did Hikaru win that game? Bishop d3, but now Magnus goes to work. Rook c1, queen c2, rook b4, infiltrates with his queen, pinning Hikaru. And Hikaru hangs a knight. The nerves must have been through the roof. Hikaru hangs a knight, continues the game for a little while. The whole thing is reset. Ladies and gentlemen, it's tied again. 15-15. 15-15. Are you enjoying yourselves? Because I am enjoying myself. My friends, the match is 15-15. They've got 4 more games to decide what's going to happen. It's a Caro Con from Magnus Carlsen. He plays bishop g4, e6, and Hikaru pushes out his queen, plays e5, and g4. Magnus goes here. Take, take. c5, knight c6, rook c8, queen b6. Hikaru walks the king to g2. A very tense position as Magnus goes for a queenless middle game and infiltrates on the c4 square. And once again, Magnus is doing very, very well with the white pieces, but Hikaru is just the most stubborn defender I have ever seen in my life. It's another queenless middle game, but Magnus is better. b6, take, take. No bishops, rooks and knights. Magnus tries to poke with f6, takes, takes. Magnus still trying to take advantage. e5. Knight d3, knight into d2. The pieces are all tied together. How is Hikaru not losing a rook? He is. He gives away a rook to take here. Rook c2. What? d4. Magnus is completely winning. King to g3, knight to a5. Magnus is completely winning. I mean, the game is over. He's up in exchange and he has multiple passed pawns. Rook to d7. There's no way. Oh my goodness, he lost the pawn. Wait, but the king steps back. Rook c7. That's it. The game is over. Rook c5. Rook b2. Magician. Magician. You can take this, but then I'm going to get both of those. Wait a minute. Now Magnus is doubting himself. Rook b4. Here comes Magnus. Rook b1. But oh my goodness. Hikaru in with rook b6. King f4. Knight f3. g5. Is Hikaru going to win this game? Is he going to win this game on time? He better not. He better not win this game on time. Rook h. No. No. Rook a6. h4. Rook a5. They're 5 seconds each. Magnus down to 4 seconds. It's a nasty scramble. Hikaru's pawn advancing. King h6, knight f4, g7, rook a5 check. Magnus Carlsen loses on time. Magnus Carlsen loses on time for the second time in the overtime. He had a dominant position, but the ridiculous tenacity of Hikaru. 16-15. If Hikaru wins this game, it's all over. If Magnus wins this game, it's 16-16. There was a winner. Somebody won this game. e5. Hikaru with the black pieces this time. We have the exact same opening we've had. Magnus doing it the exact same way that he's done it nonstop. Take, take. Looking to infiltrate on the queen side. Looking to infiltrate with h4 like he's done the entire match. Hikaru trying to bully him. Getting him out of the position. Bishop to c2. Magnus opening up the position. Tactics flying all over the board. Bishop d8, queen d8. Very dangerous position for white. Very dangerous position for black. 40 seconds each. Knight e5. Oh my god, Hikaru grabbed the pawn. Oh my god, Hikaru's knight is going on a journey. Knight to d1 check. Queen takes e4. He's completely chucked the bishop. Queen e3. Check. Magnus can make a draw here. But Hikaru takes! Oh my god. He checks him again. Into another check. Into another check. Queen c1. Queen f4. The game is going to end in a draw, right? Unless somebody blunders. c4. And that somebody is Magnus. Despite being up a full bishop in a queen endgame, the weakness of his king allows Hikaru to do this. And by some sort of cruel fate of geometry, Hikaru is threatening queen d2 and c2. And he delivers it. And he's going to make a second queen. He defends himself, gives a check. c1 queen is unstoppable. Magnus Carlsen resigns. Hikaru is the bullet chess world champion 2023 with a final scoreline of 17-15, decided in overtime, win by 2 after winning the match by 5 games, losing a game at a time as Magnus chiseled away. Magnus was down 3 games with 7 minutes to go in regulation. He tied the match. Magnus was winning multiple times in the overtime to take the lead in the match. Hikaru defended. And he wins 17-15. I got nothing else to say. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for watching this far. If you've never watched before, watch some other chess videos. It's an absolutely beautiful freaking game. Now get out of here.